Fabio Vieira recalled by Arsenal. That's what social media has been saying. Apparently, yesterday, Fabio Vieira was left out of the FC Porto squad, people. According to reports in Portugal, that was technical decisions, or better yet, reasons, in which it does seem a bit scary if you can't be in a matchday squad owing to, your potential and the reason you moved to Porto. For Fabio Vieira, I believe this loan spell has been a bit testing. He's been injured. Obviously, for whatever reason, he's been left out of the matchday squad. And then there's been some patches of brilliance. I'm not watching Porto week in, week out, but just from keeping my eyes and ears open, he's getting 1, 2 assists here and there. Ultimately, he's not, making up any noise for us to have that conversation about, oh my God, like, should we have loaned him out? Can he come back at Arsenal? Does he have a future? Could he be like a new signing, word to Arsene Wenger? And obviously, in light of what's going on with Bukayo Saka, we need to sign players in January. We need to do it in the summer, whether we're able to, for whatever reason, whether the players are not available, they're too expensive, or there's not an unbelievable opportunity, as Mikel Arteta keeps referencing, is another thing, people. For Fabio Vieira, I don't know if it makes sense to return to Arsenal because you're not exactly a regular like that for Porto, but you'd imagine you're more in the first team plans than you'd be at Arsenal, and simply put, you're more likely to get game time. That being said, we have coped with a lot of injuries. There is still a lot of game time. And, the romantic in me would love for Fabio, of course, to return to Arsenal, have a great season. And when we're talking about, playing the 10 or the 8 or even out wide, we've got a great player in that regard. Probably didn't happen. I think personally with Fabio Vieira, like Kivio, I think we bought them a season or two too early, but it is what it is. Now, some Arsenal fans have begun to allegedly, people, he's been recalled from Porto to Arsenal. Apparently, he was on a private jet which departed from Porto this morning and headed to London. Or coincidentally, there was that. Now, again, this could be forever things. This could purely be coincidental. There could be some truth in this. It all depends where you look at it. The Porto manager actually was quick to play down reports of a potential recall. He said, Fabio knows me well and we're counting on him. He'll be available to play again next week. Now, again, God forbid, but there could be some personal reasons for why Fabio was left out of the squad. It could have been purely sporting, where you've had a bust up. You could be recalled. And I hope it's not this, but there could be some family issue or something around that, people. So who knows where Fabio Vieira is concerned. Kai Havertz on Bukayo Saka has said he's a massive player for us. So many goals, so many assists. Everyone has to step up because we know he's important. We are ready for the challenge. Kai also said, I like to play different roles. For me, it's fun wherever I play. I try to help the team every match. Big you up. Does that mean he could go right wing? I don't want to see that, but it could be a factor. On the topic of Bukayo Saka, you even would have seen on social media, there were some reports saying that Arsenal feared that his hamstring actually came off the bone to the point where they were so concerned. Normally, there's a 24 to 48-hour wait before they do scans on injuries. They did it that night. We all wish Bukayo Saka a speedy return and good health, I'm sure. Obviously, we're going to have to cope without him. You would have seen his Instagram post where he said the rehab begins now. Mikel Arteta said, on him, I think it will be more than 2 months. I don't know exactly how much. So again, anyone that probably expects him to be back in February, mid-March at the best, probably. Could you guys rather to say you probably see him in the back end, worst case scenario of April? I'm sure Saka will be pushing and pushing and pushing to get fit and obviously help his teammates, but it is what it is, man. And I hope Arsenal, again, I want to win something this season. Next season for now is somewhat irrelevant, but lessons learned. I say it all the time. At the beginning of 2024, Mikel Arteta said we've got one of the smallest squads in the league. Bearing in mind, we're about to be into 2025. Happy New Year in advance. He said the same thing last week. What's changed? We got a clean run with injuries last season. We should have thanked our lucky stars and made sure we had enough depth, which we tried to do defensively, and we probably did. Players have been dropping. Shout out to Lewis Skelly for taking advantage of people being missing. But our squad isn't big enough. We've been having these conversations. We need a striker. We like another attacker. Who plays if Saka can't do the business? Who plays instead of Saka to allow him to get rested? What if Odegaard gets injured? What happens here, there, and the other? And especially to the right-hand side. Saka's gone. Ben White's gone. You've got Odegaard. Our right-hand side was our bread and butter. There's plenty of question marks about the left-hand side when everybody's fit. But hey, it is what it is, man. A lot of the things we talk about, technical reasons, tactical reasons, recruitment front, these are not new things we've learned this season. But anyways, I'm sure you'd all like Alexander Isak, and if anyone's got a spare 150 million, folks, smash the like button. You can make our dreams a reality. Newcastle value Alexander Isak at more than 150 million. Now, is that a bit unrealistic or are they realistic? And what I mean by that is he's clearly a key player. got a couple of years on his deal. The striker market isn't exactly flushed with a lot of strikers, really, and he's a quality player. You know, the 10 or so million they spent on him, no, telling a lie. Sociedad saw the light in him when they took it from Dortmund to Sociedad. Newcastle, I think they paid 70 million. They'll make a profit. I think they're well within their rights to demand 100 million, considering his age profile. But then you look at injuries, you look at 150 million. You know, if Isak did genuinely want to leave Newcastle, you know, this is where him and his agent, it could get a bit messy. You can't it's not going to happen. 150 million. You never know, people. Apparently, he's rapidly turning into one of the most coveted players in Europe. But Newcastle will resist any attempts to lure him away with a record price tag in excess of 150 million put on the Sweden international. Newcastle blocked talks to poach Isak last summer by quoting a fee of around 150 million for the 25-year-old, which immediately scared off Chelsea. With 3.5 years left on his contract, which Newcastle may look to extend at the end of the season, the asking price will not be lowered. The world record for a transfer is Neymar's 198 million. And then also you've got Enzo Fernandez from Benfica to Chelsea. Although new contract talks were postponed earlier this year, Newcastle want to keep Isak and know an extension will need to be discussed at some point. Why were they postponed? Is it because it's just not the right time? Was him and his agents not really playing that? Was there other priorities Newcastle need to sort out? I don't know, people. Arsenal have long been linked with Isak, who has 42 goals in 68 Premier League appearances. What a record, if I'm honest. But will struggle to come up with the sort of money needed to open talks at a time when every club in England are struggling to comply with PL profitability and sustainability rules. Allegedly, PSG are the latest club said to be tracking Isak, while there could be interest from two Spain giants, Barcelona and Real Madrid. Real Madrid, really? I mean, Isak would be great, but you know, how do you fit in Rodrigo, Vinicius, and Mbappe? And there's a bunch of players who'll be here all day, man. I'm not sure. Allegedly, Newcastle have stressed that they are relaxed about the situation and have no interest in selling, while the players reportedly said he is happy on Tyneside. Things can change. Happiness is temporary. This too shall pass. I don't think we're getting him in January. Small hope for the summer. I don't think it's going to happen, but let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button. Again, he was signed, we got to remember, for a club record fee to Newcastle for 63 million. And from a business point of view, I think they're within their rights to get 70, 80, 90, 100, 100 and some change, maybe even 120 if it's going to get to that. 150, I think it's a madness, people. So I have to see. He had a slow start to the season, but at the end of the day, he's got 11 goals in his last 12 appearances for Newcastle. Who's got 11 goals for Arsenal at this moment in time? He's everything you want in the striker. Whether Arsenal do that's another thing. I covered this yesterday, but Arsenal, Manchester United, and Man City allegedly are tracking Dali Almo after the whole registration stuff at Barcelona. People, Arsenal apparently reportedly eyeing up 22-year-old Boca Juniors goalkeeper Leandro Bay as they look to bolster their goalkeeping options and provide competition for David Ryan next summer. Now, is that going to happen in January? Because from January to now, obviously, we just saw about PSR rules. Obviously, 1 minute Arsenal are in a positive place financially, and we don't need to sell. We can go for these kind of players. Then we have to play a bit of a game. But listen, this is more stuff than I can understand. You're going to have to find a goalie. You're going to have to find a number 8. You're going to have to find a striker. You're going to have to find a winger. I actually think the squad could do with another defender, and we need a goalie or two. So there's a lot of money that needs to be spent. And where you look at, not saying that these players need to go or whatever, but if you look at transfer fees and wages and whatnot, Kivio is someone that could potentially be gone in the summer. The club, for argument's sake, might say, let's sell Tomiyasu. Whether Arsenal get a decent asking price for Zinchenko is another thing, but he's got 2 years left on his deal. It's been radio silence for a new deal there. Fabio Vieira, I don't know if he has a future at Arsenal Football Club. Thomas Partey and Jorginho, if and when they do leave at the end of the season, that frees up some wages. So there could be more resources to kind of play around with. And also, is there any money that we've carried over from the summer to January at this point? I don't know where you are. Do you think we'll act in January? Do you think we won't? So it's a bit of a techie one. And also Kieran Tierney is going to probably leave as well, which again gives you more resources to play around with. I'm of the belief you might as well keep Tierney to the summer, but I understand if the club get a decent kind of offer, decent emphasis on that, to let him go in January, people. Apparently, this article said it's achievable in relation to Celtic re-signing him in January, which I think is going to happen in summer. That's probably what both parties would want. Even Arsenal wouldn't stand in his way. Like you say, injuries, not playing. He's not been part of Arteta's squad going forward. Him leaving frees up space in the Arsenal squad. And for Tierney, it's a great fit, which is true because, Tierney, let's be honest, your stock is on the floor. You know, Calafiori's come in. You know, Calafiori's come in. Zinchenko's ahead of you. Young Lewis Skelly's ahead of you now, and he's been in the first team where playing in the Premier League is concerned for a matter of minutes now. Exaggeration. Who else? Timber's gonna play ahead of you. If we ever see Tommy Assey's ahead of you. It's sad, man, for Tierney, but for you. You deserve to go somewhere where you're going to play. Everybody deserves to be somewhere where they're genuinely going to play and get an opportunity. So I don't know, man. The main concern is, though, for me, we need to act in January. Obviously, you know, we would have loved the striker. Talk around an attacker would have probably focused on the left-hand side of Arsenal's attack. With Saka's injury, there's no getting away with that. I'll be real. I think our chances of winning the champs or the Prem are slim anyways. And they're even slimmer, if that makes sense, people, without Bukayo Saka. So other players are going to step up. Right now, we're going to have to find internal solutions. But those in charge of doing things at Arsenal need to pull a rabbit out of their hat for me.